1, 2, 3, 4.
Hi guys, and welcome to Marketing in the Madness Shoptalk edition, where I am live chatting to some of the best minds in retail about what's happening, the innovations that are across the board. And wow, I have just recorded an amazing episode for you. So with me today is Slavka Jancikova. Yes, said it right. I did it. And Slavka is the VP of Marketing for the whole of Europe for Foot Locker. And in this episode, honestly, guys, we talk about so much. We're going to be covering the innovations that are happening, not just in store, but across their digital channels, how Foot Locker are engaging with youth audiences, but also us as millennials too, because we're an important part of their 50-year history. And honestly, you are in for a real treat. So let's go to the episode. So hi, Slavka, and thank you so much for joining me at Shoptalk. Now, I am a huge fan of, well, all the brands that I'm talking to, but Foot Locker is standout for me because I've shopped with you many a time, and you guys have done such a great job at really embedding yourselves into, well, youth culture particularly, but I think across the board, it's just a very cool brand. So we're going to talk about some of the things that you're doing to make sure that you do stay ahead, because there's obviously lots of younger brands coming through.
Absolutely.
Now. Foot Locker has a fair bit of competition. So it'd be really good just to understand a little bit about, I guess, your role. Let's talk about what your responsibilities are as a VP of Marketing. Tell me.
For sure. I'd like to thank you, first of all, for being a fan of Foot Locker. Really glad to hear that. And there's a couple of points that I would love to then hit on that you actually mentioned when we do talk about the resonance of the different generations with our brand. But I work at Foot Locker in the European headquarters that are based in Utrecht, Netherlands. And my team basically comprises of several different functions and channels that activate our conversations and communications with consumers. So whether it's brand strategy, creative team, social media, PR partnerships, paid media, own channels, so the whole shebang. And then I work very closely with our e-commerce lead as well to make sure that we have an integrated way to go to market and connect with our consumers.
Yeah, I mean, a huge job and lots of different connected parts that I guess all need to work together to deliver and, create these fantastic customer experiences. Can you talk to me about, like, in my head, you guys are well ahead maybe of some of the other footwear brands, how people engage with you, how people search, how people shop is changing massively. What kind of things are you focused on to make sure that you're still the cool brand and people come to Foot Locker, especially those kind of the Gen Z? Well, I'm officially just about a millennial. So like what are the things that are on your radar now? Yep. What are you doing to really make sure that the brand stays cool?
Yeah. Very easy question, not an easy answer.
Yes.
But I'll start with the fact that you've basically alluded to that you've known Foot Locker for a long time. We have a long 50-year history. And so the millennials, when you look at that generation, really grew up with our brand. So there's a lot of connection, emotional connection, a lot of the legacy that has been built up over the decades. And then this generation, a lot of it is also staying loyal to Foot Locker. And is still shopping with us, probably had introduced their kids to Foot Locker, but we can't rest on our laurels and expect that that's going to work with the new generation. So what we're working on and have to think about every day is to be relevant with the Gen Z, with the young generation, because sometimes being that brand of the parents is not as cool. So there's plethora of initiatives, plethora of things that we're doing in order to stay relevant. But I would say one of the biggest things that also permeates sneaker culture as a whole is making sure that we are connected to what's cool, what's relevant culturally, that we connect with the right tastemakers in the different parts of Europe, which we know is very varied and diverse. So that's probably one of the elements. Another very important, and it really starts with that, is to have the right product portfolio. So while I work in marketing, I have a very close connection with our buying team and with our buying VP to ensure that when we build plans for the quarters to come or years to come, that we work hand in hand to ensure that it's not only nice marketing, storytelling, campaigns, but that we're actually highlighting and spotlighting the right product for the consumer.
Yeah. Do you know what? That's really interesting because we think about the marketing, of course, but if you don't have the right products, the whole thing kind of falls away. And I actually spoke to my daughter about this. We had an interview with Sephora, a private one, which we weren't able to publish it, sadly. But I asked my daughter, I was like, why do you like Sephora has this huge hype, right? Like, why do you love Sephora so much? The reason she loves it, because of the products, because she was like, because they have all the cool brands. So she wants to go into store or shop online with Sephora purely because of the products that they stock. So it's having the right brands. And then, of course, knowing that they have the right brands through influencer campaigns and things like that. So I think she's 17, by the way. So how they...
Great age.
Yeah, I know. She's brilliant. But how they, this younger generation shop is going to be very different to us. And it's about, the brands like Foot Locker, making them aware that you have those brands. So yeah, what's on when it comes to kind of advertising and reaching those consumers, what are you guys doing?
It's really a multi-channel approach. So while there's a lot of sometimes potentially cliche statements around all young people are on TikTok only, it doesn't mean that we've now shifted our paid media efforts to TikTok. Yes, TikTok is an important channel and we are increasing our investments in TikTok as well. However, still, when it comes to maximizing your reach, as an example, and being efficient in how you spend your paid media dollars, Meta still comes to the top in terms of driving that reach and driving that efficiency. Now, TikTok, and I'm not paid by any of these channels, just to be very clear, has recently really upgraded their use of AI and optimizing the algorithm. This is as far as my knowledge goes. But they've really invested in making the paid media dollars go further. So we're testing right now with TikTok in order to decide, are we going to scale our investments in TikTok and maybe invest a bit less into some of the other channels like Meta. But it really is about making up the right mix of the channels through which we'll reach them to, again, maximize those dollars. And then maybe one more thing that I would add, as we look then at different countries and different markets where we operate, there are some nuances still. So, for example, Snapchat still seems to be a very effective channel with Gen Z, in particular in France, if I remember this correctly. So then we also fine-tune our media strategies in terms of reaching this consumer by market where possible. So there is not one silver bullet. It is truly a mix of the right channels per market and per the objective that you have.
Yeah, it's interesting you say about Snapchat because I feel like it's like a messaging platform, but it's not. It's a social media platform. And when me and my daughter were looking at her, obviously my daughter is the typical Gen Z and she loves shopping and she loves trainers and shoes.
Oh, that's amazing. So we need to invite her into a consumer panel sometimes.
She would love that. But she spends most of her time on Snapchat. The stats for her, I mean, she's obviously in the UK, but her Snapchat time way overrides TikTok or anything. And that, I think we think everyone's living on TikTok, and she does spend a lot of time on TikTok, but she's messaging her friends and spending most of her time on Snapchat.
Absolutely. I think it's also important to know what they're using each channel for. And then, yes, acknowledging some of those generational nuances when it comes to Facebook versus Instagram, for example. But TikTok, I think it's widely known that is a bit of a Google for trends for the Gen Z. So we do know that that's where they discover trends. So we are monitoring and being part of those conversations as well to make sure that, and again, we can close that loop or continue that loop with the buying team to inform them of what are those up-and-coming trends. Now, the challenge becomes that those trends are often very fleeting. They can be a matter of weeks, perhaps. So in order to be able to react immediately with the product is a bit of an opportunity. So the way we address it is that if we see, I'm just going to make up an example, that a pink color is trending, like was it a year ago or 2 years ago when Barbie movie came out? Then we look at our assortment and think of, okay, how can we merchandise several different products that fit within the pink category, call it, and get it with speed to our e-commerce site. That's probably the fastest way to address a trend. And then in our stores, how do we visual merchandise if we have that product in a way that it doesn't necessarily require a campaign that says, hey guys, we have a pink assortment, but as a consumer, you walk into the shop and you see that offer on the table.
I think that's the key, isn't it? It's being able to react really quickly and having the right platforms in place, both for your, outwardly facing content that's being pushed out on the social channels, but also, like you say, your e-commerce website. That if, we knew the Barbie movie was coming, but no one knew it was necessarily going to be as huge as it was. So you've really got to think about, okay, how can we quickly change? And what does that mean for you and the team? Like when you're like, oh, we've spotted this, we need to change it. Can you, do your digital platforms let you make those changes as quickly as you'd like?
There's always room for improvement.
Yes,
I would say. But as a team, we try to stay agile. We try to stay agile and allow for the possibility to have to react to something quickly within a matter of days or a couple of weeks. And then e-com as an example, or some of those easy lift channels like email, newsletters, or social media enable us to then build a narrative or build a mini go-to-market, call it, to react quickly to those trends.
Nice. Oh, I find it so fascinating. I'm such a shopaholic, so all this kind of stuff really interests me. Hopefully I'm therefore asking some good questions, guys. So next up, I want to know, I know that you guys are doing a lot with, across the board, but we can't escape a podcast at the moment without talking about AI. How are you using AI? And this can be anything, like in terms of business, within the marketing team, like what things is it really, because everyone talks about AI, but the reality a lot of the time is we're not using a lot of it yet. So I'd love to know what you are doing, what you're seeing help the team, things that are getting faster because of AI.
100%. And when I talk to my industry peers, it's a similar storyline. We all talk about it, but only a handful really are utilizing AI to its fullest potential. We are very pragmatic about it right now as we evolve and build up the capabilities to be able to use AI company-wide. So the pragmatic approach we have is that we look at areas where we have the biggest bottlenecks in terms of not being able to do something at speed or with efficiency. And we basically use AI for that. So there's three very practical examples. Maybe they're not as sexy, but very practical. One of them is using AI for SEO, copywriting, and translations. Now, we operate in multiple countries, so you can only imagine the hurdle of having to translate into 5, 6, 10 different languages. But then the copywriting is using AI for copywriting is enabling us to be basically 5 to 10 times faster in creating the content, the SEO content. So that's been incredible. Now, that's one side of the coin. The other side of the coin that we're still trying to figure out is how can we maximize into even higher volumes? Because what we haven't yet implemented or fully figured out is the automation of uploading this content into our CMS. Very practical, very pragmatic, but this is a very specific example of how we were able to use and are using AI to make us faster, even though we don't have additional human resources give it. So that's one. Another example of how we use AI is for content, dynamic content creation. What I mean by that, with our partner Smartly, we're actually able to dynamically change backgrounds on product images, whether to align them and make them more consistent with the campaign that we're running at the moment, or to test different backgrounds on the product image and see which one resonates more in terms of consumers actually clicking through. And we're able to do it at speed. And then we're also starting to test AI for content creation in terms of creating multiple variations and versions of longer form content. So shorter content, but many, many versions of it. Now, normally you would need to invest in someone in post-production, doing all the different edits, costs a lot of money. So again, a very practical example of how we then use AI. And I have a third one that is not fully ready yet, but we are using AI to enhance our reporting. Again, not as sexy, but very very, very useful in order to spend less time collecting, reporting data and making the observations. We want to use AI to help us take the data, translate it into what I call human language rather than a bunch of stats, so that the team can then focus more on actually analyzing what we're seeing and making recommendations, as in, so what should we do about these observations that we're getting?
Yeah, it's super interesting, isn't it? Because I think we all have so much data, but actually analyzing it and doing something with it and teaching the AI models how to do that, that's going to, I think, really change things moving forward. I did want to ask one thing, because this is interesting to me. You talked about how you're using AI to help with SEO and like writing content, etc. Of course, how we actually search for products is changing. Like, you know, regardless of, you know, whichever age you are, like, you know, I now go to ChatGPT to find products, and you certainly when products are like a kind of live example in the shoe world, like my daughter was desperate to get the ultra mini Uggs.
Okay. Yes, those were trending for me.
Yeah, and they were impossible.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like you literally couldn't get them. So now the AI tools, like I want them to find me, like, where can I get this? Where is it in stock? Because so I'm going to maybe ChatGPT rather than Google to do my product searches. So how is that affecting how you guys list products, how you create content?
Yeah.
Like, it's a bit further ahead.
Exactly.
Maybe,
it's absolutely further ahead. And it's an untapped opportunity for us, I would say, at the moment.
Yeah.
But it's a really valid point. Just as TikTok became the search platform for trends or fashion, AI now becoming the replacement in some instances of Google search, where you can avoid a lot of the sponsored content. It's going to be interesting to explore how we react to that. We haven't yet tapped into that opportunity.
Yeah, it's exciting, isn't it?
It's exciting and also scary, because I immediately think of, okay, when is it going to turn into a tool that will be monetized again? And then you will again have to go through the hurdle of sponsored results, which we all use as marketers, right? But as consumers, we probably want to avoid that.
Yeah, the world of, well, digital, everything is changing so quickly. And I think as retailers, there's lots for, you know, us to all catch up with constantly. With that in mind, we're sort of referencing like what's in the future. What do you see? What's next? What are the innovations that are exciting you? What do you think's next in the world of retail?
So I'm going to sound like a broken record, but AI is the area that I think is very interesting for the future, that I just can't wait to see what are all the possibilities that would enable us to be faster, more agile, with fewer resources, more personalized, more catered to what the consumers are looking for. At the same time, I'm still excited and really believe that the physical experience will remain very important, that the physical retail, the ability to touch the product, get the experience in store, interact with the community that you may create as a brand, is going to be an important, almost antidote to everything digitalized, and it's going to increase in value in consumers' mind. So it's sort of these two sides of very different worlds, and I really hope and believe that they will continue living together and will balance each other out.
Love that. We do a lot of events at Street, so I'm always interested. What do you guys, as well as the in-store, do you do any events? Have you got any plans? Like, because I do think you're totally right. Again, I sound like a broken record, keep talking about my daughter, but she loves shopping. She wants to go and, even if she's not buying something, like sometimes her and her friends, they want to go out, they want to see the products, they want to have this experience. They go to festivals, etc. So what kind of activations are you doing in the real world?
Couple of things. First one is around our transformation of the fleet that we have. In Europe, we have around 600 plus retail doors. Last year, together with our global team and the North America team, we've launched what we call the reimagined concept, which is basically, think of it as the future state of our retail stores, where we're not only implementing a concept that will globally reflect Foot Locker as one brand while carrying multiple vendors and brands, but also creates a very experiential shopping journey with a lot of opportunities for customer care, advice, easy try-on. So just an overall enhanced journey in store. Last year, we opened a reimagined store in France ahead of the Olympic Games. Then another one this year in Utrecht in our near our offices. And we have around 5 or 6 of these reimagining store concepts planned in Europe for this year. And then we're doing a major transformation of our entire fleet. So there's a lot of effort going into enhancing that in-store experience. And then from the marketing side, we're investing quite heavily into not only to build the proposition of being local and of the community, but to also genuinely and authentically connect with the local neighborhoods, with the local tastemakers. So a lot of our events, whether in-store or near-store or at festivals, as you had mentioned, are centered around bringing the neighborhood voices. So we're not talking major influencers, but really the neighborhood voices, creators, people who are united by the multifaceted passion points that influence sneaker culture, bringing them together and connecting them with consumers. And we hope that this combination then brings also the Gen Z, not only to our stores, but to the experiences that we create.
Honestly, you literally have the best job. Honestly, you're doing some amazing things. I think you truly represent innovation in retail and you're just brilliant. So
Thank you.
a big thank you for joining me. Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for having me, and best of luck with the rest of the Shop Talk.